hi, Joe. It's good to have you back.
I've got another job as an air traffic controller, so I'm just monitoring the flights in and out of Salisbury this morning.
Oh, good. It's good to know we're in safe hands.
Morning, David.
Good morning. Are you all well?
Yes.
Just because I've gone on to full view to see Deb as well as Joe. Am I delayed? If so, I'll go back onto the other.
Yeah, you have got
screen.
a bit of a delay in. So.
In that case, then hang on a second. There we are. Better.
Lovely.
Yes.
Good. Well, yeah. Hello. It's good to be back, dear viewer. And we have our theological expert who felt that we were getting a little bit under.
Bit sloppy.
A bit sloppy in our performance. So we've called her in just to check our performance for today.
Isn't she staging an intervention, David?
I am.
Yeah, I mean, well, when we know what the reading's about today, and she has done the course on this particular passage, on intervention, she's coming just to make sure that you and I, Deb, don't fall out or argue or something like that.
Wow, that's good.
Not that there's much danger of you or I falling out or arguing because the dog will soon stop it. So there we are.
Yeah.
But I'm not quite sure that we could class Joe as a guest appearer, like Matt the plumber and Polly the dog. So
I'm vintage. I've got heritage. That's why.
Heritage. I don't want to get out. I don't want to get the lines of giving any names. I can get myself into enough trouble without being prompted by you. And Reverend Grasky's still sunning himself in some climate somewhere, but I'm not sure where. France or Greece or.
Is it Greece?
I feel like it's Greece from the breakfasts he's posted.
Yeah, I know, but you never know. He could come into a posh hotel in Gloucestershire for all we know.
It's true.
Because
it would be hot enough.
Yes, there we are. So there we are. So all in all, it's good, and it's good to see you. It's good to see Joe back. Good to see you again, Debs.
Yeah, and, I've opened the blinds. I'm just explaining why I look like I'm in witness protection, because I opened the blinds a bit more, and the rest of the house has been plunged into darkness. But it's not because I'm on the run or anything.
No. I thought you were in the restroom as a local undertakers or something.
You look very ethereal, like you are backlit by heaven.
Yeah.
She always does. She always looks up and ready. How she's so keen and excited this time in the morning, I shall never know, but she is. Well done, Debs. Right. Should we take a pause? Because we do know that theological need of education is more pressing this morning, so we better get on with it as we know. So let's have a pause. And then I think Joe is going to read to us. So let's have a...
So we're in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 18, verses 15 to 20. If another member of the church sins against you, go and point out the fault when the two of you are alone. If the member listens to you, you have regained that one. But if you are not listened to, take one or two others along with you, so that every word may be confirmed by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. If the member refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. And if the offender refuses to listen even to the church, let such a one be to you as a Gentile and a tax collector. Truly I tell you, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Again, truly I tell you, if 2 of you agree on earth about anything you ask, it will be done for you by my Father in heaven. For where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I am there among them. So that means God's on Rev Chat then. Whenever 2 or 3 are gathered in our name.
And God forbid that there should be any arguing in church. I've just had a message from the Archbishop of Canterbury, by the way, flash up on my phone.
A personal message.
No, I think it's a Facebook message. However, God forbid there should be any such arguing in any of our churches. I cannot believe it would happen.
I know. Interesting that there's guidance for when it happens. It's Jesus already knows it's going to happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he wouldn't have bothered to provide the guidance.
Oh no, sorry.
I mean, he's a good bloke, really. This Jesus, isn't he? He's got it tapped. He knows exactly what's going to happen.
I mean, it's really good watchword in terms of emailing. I know this was written 2,000 years before email, but I think it's a very profound reminder that when we start to disagree with each other, face-to-face becomes more essential, not less.
Absolutely. It's so easy, though, isn't it? You get an email and to rush off an answer. I've learned over the years, I think now, that if I get something and I think, oh, I actually don't answer it till the next day to give you a chance to think about it. And then I think, oh, it's a load of rubbish. Throw it in the bin, or I'll just gently say thank you very much for your email, and I'll come back to you.
Let's have a conversation. Yes.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Having said that, the written word can be just as annoying. And if I could find my letter I have received, here it is. I received yesterday from, I'm not going to show you, whatever, from a member of the church of something that I was supposedly reported to have said, which was an absolute lie and didn't happen. So I demanded they wrote me an apology.
And that's a good example of not doing what the guidance suggests, which is
I know. Oh, well, I don't care.
to the person and actually finding out the truth of the argument.
Oh, no. We found out the truth of the argument.
Oh, okay.
There was only one.
Okay. That's fine.
And we can get whatever. But it was somebody didn't speak to. All they had to do was ring and say, can we have a conversation about this? And I just said, go ahead and do what you want to do, because it's fine by me. But they were accusing me of doing something which wasn't true. And to be honest, the last couple of weeks, I'm going to be fed up of being accused of things that I haven't said, because other people have said, he said.
And that's the point of this scripture, isn't it?
Yeah,
Sorry, I've completely hijacked the conversation.
No, it's fine. I mean, I was listening to the news earlier about the horrible thing that happened near Greece with the small boats, and now the conflicting evidence between the people on the boat and what they were told to say, and all of this, and it raises the issue also about when the people in charge don't want the truth to come out, and we all know about, and the church isn't not involved in that itself. So it is a very difficult, especially at the moment, it's a very difficult area, isn't it, about fake news and what's the truth. And maybe there's something about that in this as well. But that whole reading ends with a much more uplifting thing, which we always call upon, especially when we're in small rural settings, when we always say, well, when 2 or 3 are gathered. And it is true. Often very intimate services are when you really feel God's presence very close. But I think the way that's bookended, to end with that reading, that little passage, with that difficult beginning, and then because I think it's a reminder that we're all people, and maybe we ought to just be putting Jesus ahead of all the arguing. I don't know.
I'm interested in, for the second week running in the passage we're using on Sunday, we've got the term what will be bound in heaven and what will be loosed on earth.
Yeah.
And it's obviously at that point Matthew's into that kind of thing, isn't he? As he's writing whatever he's writing. And I've never been quite sure how you pronounce the loose on earth. It doesn't seem the right word. It is, I know that, but the word loosed isn't a word we use very often, is it?
No.
But it's got a particular specific point here,
What do you think the point is? Because I have to say, I've always struggled a little bit.
Yeah, I have, Joe, to be honest. I think the point is, whatever rules you set, are going to be set, and anything that you don't or whatever, then won't be. Do you think?
Yeah, this sense of what constricts us on earth will be set free in heaven.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an intriguing And also, if two of you agree on earth about anything, it will be done for you.
But it's also the same.
Quite a lot of evidence to the contrary.
Yeah, but that also comes from other part of the Levitical law, doesn't it? That if you want to prove an argument over land, I think it was particularly in the first place, then you couldn't agree it on your own. You had to have a witness to all of the stuff that was going on. So this idea of two people had to agree or be present, whatever, is quite, for Matthew, quite a standard understanding of how you settle arguments or disputes or make agreements.
Mm.
And I guess it's ultimately about reconciliation, or perhaps not even reconciliation, but being able to exist together in community.
Yeah.
Acknowledging the faults that we all have, recognizing that it doesn't always go right, and not casting people out, because I think, it says treat them like a like a tax collector or a Gentile. Well, those are the people who Jesus was calling and embracing and welcoming.
Yeah.
So even when everything has broken down, that sense of trying to hold together a community, and that's also where I think that loosed and bound bit comes on, because I think there's that element of judgment that's coming, which is God's alone, and actually our job here on earth is to hold it all in tension as best we can, to try and create communities that aren't divided and that aren't judgmental and that aren't bitchy and backstabbing, and that we hold this all in tension, and actually the judgment comes down to later. God will sort it out, which I find quite reassuring as someone who can't bear conflict.
No. And I guess also starting the passage with, the reality that conflict does exist and, what you should do. And then ending that little section with, but when one or two are gathered in my name, I'll be there. It kind of sets it all back into worship and into, remembering what's important. And I guess, like the element of the peace in the Eucharist, where if you have had, people disagreeing, hopefully they can put that aside, even if it's for that moment and it hasn't been resolved and they're working for resolution. But in that moment, to offer the peace of God to one another, it's about remembering that worship is about our lives, but that everything else has to fall away while we acknowledge who is the head and where our foundation lies.
Yeah, that reminds me of the beautiful words of George Herbert, who the people know is one of my favourite Christian poets, when he expresses the thing in part of his long poem to the temple. It's 7 whole days, not one in 7.
Yeah.
I will praise you. And we often forget that that's where we are and what we're called to do as Christians. It is about praising God. And whether there's 1 or 2 or whether there's 60, 70, whatever it may be, prayer is important to God from wherever it comes and whenever it comes. And we have a right and a duty to honour God.
Yeah.
In that way.
I think that's why I would, being very old-fashioned still, want to commend weekly worship to people, because there's that sense of keeping short accounts. That if things have gone wrong and if there have been disputes or challenges, or things that have separated you from God, not even disputes with other people, knowing there's that every week is that chance to come and start again and to have a fresh start and to share peace and to be a community is so important. And I know that we would understand that for many people that's not always possible, but for me that's certainly the kind of focus of
that was one of
my
the
starting again each week.
So that was one of the things when I was talking with Neville Adams, who's one of our lay readers or lay license ministers now in the Beaminster Team, who's actually leaving because he's moving to be near his family in a few months' time. And we were talking about having to reduce the number of services in Drimton leading up to the closure of the church because we just don't have enough people with him not being there. And he was saying the real worry he's always had is that people don't go anywhere else other than their own church. And so to cut it down even more, they won't be worshipping idly at all. And I don't know what the answer is, or how you encourage people to go from one church, which may be only a mile or 3/4 of a mile, to the next one. Because important, as you say, Jo, the weekly act of worshipping God is important for many, many reasons. Never mind just the reconciliation, but because God is, I've always understood that the word worship means giving God his full worth. And, and we should be giving, as Christians, God his full worth. And it's very difficult to try and somehow get that over to people who will only go to where they live or their particular place.
Yeah. I guess we've just got into that habit. We've got a parish system, and that's what we've known. But, if we live in rural areas or even in cities, we travel to supermarkets and to the doctor and to all sorts of places, and we don't even think about that. But it's hard for people. I think people have patterns, but I think new patterns are, the one thing we've been trying in Bridport is to worship together once a month. And for some people, it has been painful and it's not what they want. But for many others, it's been a bit of an eye-opener. They've learned about their neighbours who live in the same small town, but they don't worship with regularly. And they, see a different perspective and worship in different places. I mean, I think it's a joy, but I'm not underestimating how for some it's a difficulty. And we're a community, so we know that some people hurt a little bit when things are new, but we also have to celebrate what's good and life-giving about, being part of the body of Christ, which is different and in different places. And, we're all part of deanery, and we're part of a diocese, and we're part of the Church of God throughout the world. So there's, it's, but...
Well, worshipping God is not just about going to church, as we know.
No.
And hopefully we're going to be offering God his full worth in other things we're doing today.
Yeah, in everything that we do. But
in everything we do. So you've got students who are going to be reporting to you and asking for extensions on their next report, no doubt, Jo?
It's a bit early for extensions yet. We've only just kicked off a new module.
Oh, well, I'm just checking in that they haven't started to get into the practice of coming on one bended knee.
Not yet. Give them 8 weeks, and I suspect we'll be there.
So what's on your agenda today? What are you teaching today?
I have a mission and evangelism tutorial, which is exciting. I'm marking a dissertation.
Wow.
I'm drafting some short courses for hopefully setting up a rural learning community. So that's part of my planning ahead for next year. And I've got a rural pioneering course to write. We're fully booked for that in 3 weeks' time. So lots going on for me today.
And Debs, what are you praising God doing today, apart from holding the dog on your lap and sitting in the dark?
I'm meeting with my wardens later and thinking about PCC coming up, and also meeting with our parish magazine editor as we think about the future. And I'm also welcoming my dad round for dinner later.
Oh, lovely. That will be a holy moment. And David, you've got a funeral, haven't you?
Can they hear me? I don't know if you
can hear me. Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, it's good. In that case, what am I doing today? Well, I sadly back to the funeral front again, because that seems to be my life at the moment. And a visit to Yeovil in the back of a hearse, which will be good. And no PCCs. I've done 3 this week. The 4th one has been cancelled because we've nothing to discuss, because we did meet a few weeks ago to decide on some things. And then this evening, I'm making my way to Sturminster Marshall.
For cricket?
No, for the licensing of Jane Williams.
Yes, of course. How exciting.
I think the church is so small, they've kind of invited me as a representative of the deanery, because I think they're worried about how many they're going to get into the church. So I should be there representing us all.
Oh, well, every blessing to Jane as she commissioned into her new role.
Jane was one of our great colleagues who was rector of the Bride Valley and is now moving to the Red Post benefice. So I should be there for that. And in between times, I've got lots of bits of paperwork and stuff to do, including arranging to try and bury some ashes, which I can't find anybody to do yet, but I will do by the 6th of October, which is all that matters.
Thank you for having me back.
Oh,
I need to go now.
Yeah, well, thank you for bringing a bit of gravitas back to the Rev Chat.
That's something I could never be accused of.
We need that. I'm going to be away for the next 2 weeks. I dread to think whose hands all this is going to be left in. But we have got Chris's list. We have got Chris's list, so it's Venn diagram or something of what's going to happen. So so I'll see you back in a few weeks' time. If you want to follow me and whatever, you can find me on other things. But thank you for viewing. You know how to find us because you already have, because you're watching this. Tell other people about us, and keep in touch.
Yeah. Okay.
And have a good day worshipping God in all that you do.
Yeah.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.